If your brand belongs in the heart of the yachting world, this is where it happens. Yachting International Radio reaches over 1 million yachting professionals and enthusiasts every month, with 77 million impressions, 220,000 social followers, and 74,000 podcast subscribers. Our hosts are insiders, crew, captains, CEOs, trusted voices shaping the industry. This is targeted, high-impact advertising in a luxury niche. Visit yachtinginternationalradio.com/advertise. Your audience is already listening.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rich as Fuck podcast, the show we talk about money, life, investing, and all things in between. Today I have the honor of sitting down with one of my dear friends, Alex Haubrich. He's
How's it going?
the founder. He's the founder of YachtieWorld, which pretty much everyone that listens to this will be familiar with it. I've known Alex for a bunch of years, and he's been pretty pivotal in helping me grow as a business and as a personal brand. So grateful for him and all the pointers he's showed me. Welcome to the show, my bro.
It's a pleasure to be here. Charl, the Yachting Investor, money man with a plan. I'm happy to be part of this and to learn from you and to share stories. Yeah, proud of you for your progress you've been making. I've seen what you've been building, and it's absolutely incredible. Well done to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I take a page out of all the experts' books. So I have definitely learned a thing or two about social media from you.
Pleasure. You're killing it.
Thank you, mate. So for the people that aren't familiar with what you do, tell us, how did you get into yachting in the first place?
How I got into yachting in the first place? Well, let me go back to high school. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. My grades were not good enough to get into university due to, I blame the math teacher, but you can't blame everyone for your own mistakes. So I went to summer camp in the US, and I got the travel bug from there. And from there, I was like, okay, what's next? What's the next adventure? I was trying to figure it out at the time. I was waiting tables. And then one day, this massive floating palace stopped right in front of the restaurant at the V&A waterfront. And I was like, oh my God, looking at these deckhands pushing around a chamois. I was busy wiping the tables with a rag. I'm like, why am I not doing that? I could do the same thing. So I did my research. And about a year after that, I was finding myself in Miami, looking for work, and the rest is history. Started at the Miami Beach Marina as a dock attendant, picking up trash, making $9 an hour, struggling to get by. I had $900 in my pocket when I arrived, which in rands was plenty at the time. This was 2012, a long time ago. But yeah, I was forced to make it happen quickly, get a job very quickly. And within a month, I got my first permanent position, which was at Miami Beach Marina. So my colleagues there quickly surpassed their salary. They were both proud and jealous at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest is history from there. Went to California, San Francisco. That's where my first yacht took me, and that was an experience because there weren't many yachties out on that side. Mm-hmm. Yachties as we know it. We had the biggest yacht out there, which was 30 meters. So yeah, I was curious about the world, and that curiosity led me to start YachtieWorld. It happened in small steps, but I was curious in finding out what everyone else was doing in the yachting industry while I was on board, and looking to find a community on that side. There wasn't any at the time. And yeah, I grew from there.
That's a really cool origin story. And I kind of want to zoom in on what you said there about your curiosity leading into creating a community. So what was those first steps in YachtieWorld? How did that look back in 2012 or 2013?
Well, around then, social media, as we know it, was in its infancy. People were still not even creating accounts. People didn't know how to post anything online. I was still learning how to post things online myself. But I knew it was a platform that opened up to the whole world. And I looked on there. I was looking for Yachtie-centric places where you could kind of connect with people or see what the life was all about. There was nothing. Instagram was quickly growing, but was still very young. And I noticed there was nothing out there. So I took it on myself to connect with others and create this platform that highlighted their experiences. And that way I could gain relationships with them. At the same time, help other people connect with each other and inspire. Like the three pillars in my slogan is discover, connect, inspire. And it's been like that since the beginning, because that was the purpose, right? And one thing led to another. I was very, very persistent. I wasn't getting any money from this for at least 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a passion project, and eventually it grew beyond my wildest dreams. And yeah, now I'm managing this community. I'm highly connected around the yachty world, and it's taken me to some amazing places after all this time. It's been 13 years now.
That's so amazing. And
persistence is key. You've got to be persistent.
That's a true testament of grit, because 10 years with a unmonetized project like that means, it was a hobby for the first 10 years by definition. And I'm really glad and happy that you found a way to convert that hobby and passion into something that you can make a living off. Because then that way you can kind of design a life where it doesn't feel too much like work because you're doing something you're passionate about. But 10 years is a long time. So kudos to you for your patience.
Thanks. Yeah. I was still working on board at the time. So that was just a way for me to continue to build. I did have a long range vision, and I knew it would take about 10 years. And when COVID struck, I was back at home, didn't have a yacht job. It's going to be very difficult for me to travel at that point in time. But that's when I converted my community into a business. And I was starting a lot of crew members were reaching out to me who were uncertain, who were confused during those trying times. It was scary times, actually, if I look back. Everyone was in fear, even if they didn't want to admit it. It was the unknown. And things blew up from there. Started making my first couple of dollars online, just providing a way to help yacht crew boost their personal brands and to get them exposure so they could get hired. That was very successful. And I took it from there, and the business grew. And I haven't worked on a yacht since. Well, I haven't been a permanent deck.
Good for you. Good for you. Let's touch on that with the yachties that reached out to you regarding building personal brands. So how in 2025, if any yachty is listening to this and wants to create a personal brand, I'm going to be honest, until I founded the Yachting Investor, I never really understood what that meant. I always used to tell my friends, being an influencer or a digital creator isn't a real job. But now, holy fuck, do I take those words back? Because now that I'm kind of learning about building an online presence and a personal brand, there's a lot that goes into it. So if you had to be a Deckie today in 2025 wanting to start a personal brand, how would you go about it?
First of all, people doubt what they don't understand. Like, you didn't understand branding or what that meant. Influencer, I don't consider myself an influencer, more consider myself a community builder. But, some people are making money being an influencer, but that also comes with a lot of unauthentic type content, whatever sells, But I've noticed a shift in authenticity over the last several years, and that seems to be the content that's getting more traction and more attention because people feel like they can connect with a real person. That's why instead of being a faceless brand, companies have now shifted to the influencer marketing to put a face behind it because that will influence real people. So in today's world, social media is not going anywhere. people do check your social media accounts and see what kind of person you are, because that is a way to tell your personality in a quick, indirect way. And how you convey yourself, how you present yourself online is connected to how you may conduct yourself on board a yacht, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your CV is your flyer. It's a personal brand. If it's beautifully designed, it says a lot about you. If it's well written, it says a lot about you. And showing your experience also says a lot about you. So that, in conjunction with your social media channels, if you have the balls to put yourself online out there, like I help people with video CVs, I always encourage it. I also know how uncomfortable that is, but I'm there to help guide people. Like, doing great. Send me like 10 more options. This is what I did with you as well, Charl.
Yeah.
And you always had it. You've always been well spoken, but sometimes you were trying too hard. I'm like, take it easy, and you have now nailed it and you've got it going. So I try to tell people, be authentic, because that's more relatable and people will connect with it better. So that answers your question.
Yeah,
it takes practice, persistence. Practice, persistence, and courage. It is always going to be scary, especially if it's your first time. You will suck your first time, but with practice, it gets easier and easier. It's like dock walking, you know? It sucks to get rejected, and I've been there myself. You go from boat to boat, you get rejected, it deflates you, but success is going from failure to failure without losing any enthusiasm. And once you get to that point, nothing can stop you, you know. You just, I would tell myself, I'm going to go get rejected 10 times today, and then I'll go have a beer and feel sorry for myself, or, you know, congratulate myself. And it worked. And when you put in that effort, somehow the universe manifests and a job will come. Maybe it won't come from anybody who went to that day, but something will fall in your lap. So, yeah,
that's brilliant. That's brilliant advice. And you're right. It is really scary in the beginning. I laugh now at the videos I started out with. But I'm sure that I'll be laughing in another year or two looking back at today's videos. And that's just the nature of the game. You can't get better without sucking first. So just kind of breaking through the fear of failure part of it that's it. And also what helped me a lot is I was so obsessive about how is this going to look? And you're like, people fucking scroll for 10 seconds and then they flick to the next thing. That's just the attention span of today's nature.
The reality is people will forget about it in a few seconds.
Exactly.
So nobody cares.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Plus, this cringe content seems to do better. You incorporated that. You got your cheeky, witty sense of humor, which is fucking awesome. And that works well. So
thank you for that. Okay, now if you weren't doing what you were doing now in an alternate universe, what would you be doing for a living?
It's a great question. I ask myself, if I were to pivot now, what the fuck to do? But definitely, you know, something that's always I've been drawn to is something in the tech industry, you know. Especially my journey as a yachtie, I was always drawn to that. And when I've taken breaks in between, I would go to startup events and so on. So I was always drawn to that, and I got knowledge from here and then tried to incorporate that into YachtieWorld, see what's missing in our industry, which is rather archaic and behind in a lot of ways, which gives forward-thinking people the opportunity to catch up quickly.
Yeah.
So definitely something in tech I would have dove deeper into platform creation, which I'm still doing. But solely focus on that, maybe work for a startup company and helping them wherever I can. Something in marketing and branding, which I've discovered along the way is what I'm drawn to and good at. And yeah, I think that's where I would have gone. Real estate, agency work.
I can imagine you in what you just mentioned. That's a really good answer to a pretty difficult question.
What about you? I'm curious. What about you?
What would I be doing? I probably would have been a cricket player.
Really?
Yeah, that was, I was kind of on a crossroads before I left for yachting, where I had to make a decision on pursuing cricket as a career. For the Americans listening that aren't familiar with cricket, cricket is what you guys refer to as funny baseball. um, I think that would have been my jam. Probably not as lucrative, and definitely not a given, because it's obviously super competitive being a professional sportsman. Um, Either that, or the other equation in my potential branch out of careers would have been just be a permanent like backpacker, kind of a dirt bag, mountain climber, dirt. I living in a hostel.
You're already doing that. We just did an Arizona thing. We were talking about that.
I think that's why I'm drawn to things like the ultra marathon adventures, because I get that like inner degenerate out of me that likes to like live in discomfort. But yeah, I just realized that that's some people make it work, but I have certain dreams, goals, aspirations, and all of these things require me to make a lot of money. So me just going back backpackers to backpackers, it wasn't a viable option. So yeah, it's probably my alternative universe.
I could see why. I mean, that's the goal, is to get super rich so you can live that way comfortably, right?
That's it. And I mean, I love that you brought this up, because this week I posted a video of why I want to become rich, classic clickbait, but it's not about some arbitrary number that I see in my bank account. For me, to me, being rich is being able to wake up on a Thursday morning and be like, I don't want to work today. I want to go climb in the mountains with my dog, or I want to coach my son's rugby practice. Like that to me is what it means to be rich, not owning a big yacht. Uh, so for me, being rich is being able to buy freedom by having enough money to not sacrifice my time to earn money. So
Beautifully said. Nice.
Yeah.
Living that real rich life. Because you see a lot of these owners. I don't know how your owners have been, but some of them are ungrateful for what they have. Nothing is good enough, and they never seem to be pleased with anything. But yet they have all the money in the world. I never understood that. I was like, you're complaining about seaweed on the beach where we set up the whole beach, which took us hours to do actually before you woke up. And I want to move somewhere else because there's seaweed on the beach.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I guess that's just one of those things in human psychology where if you don't develop a mindset where you know when is enough, your goalposts will always be shifting. So for these billionaires, they maybe thought when they started out their first business, they were like, if I just make my first million, I'll be Gucci. And then they make their first million, but now you've already moved into a new circle. And now you're the poorest person in the circle. Now you're like, okay, well, I got to get to 10 million at least to be named as rich. You get there, boom, your goalposts have moved again. Now you're the poorest fucker in your new WhatsApp group. And then you're like, okay. And then before you know it, you're a billionaire. There's nothing more to strive for. You lose all your ambition and your drive to achieve more. And it was because you never learned how to stop and be like, let me smell the roses, you know?
So what advice would you give to those people or your future rich self? So when you one day look back at this, because that's a great point. We keep moving the goalpost, we hit a target, then we want to reach another target. I think that's just nature and that's ambition, and I think it's not a bad thing. But you can get stuck in this loop of never feeling like you're good enough or never being fulfilled or pleased with what you have. I've recently came to a point in life where I was like, wait a minute, actually, this used to be my goal where I'm at right now. And I can go, and I have found myself climbing on the mountain in the middle of the day. While I was doing that, I was stressing about not having enough money, yet I could still work on my phone while I was on the mountain, which was great.
Yeah. It's a tough one to answer. Like, I don't know the exact answer to that, but what I try to incorporate in my own life is a few like basic exercises, something like I journal every day. So that allows me to firstly give myself a bit of quiet time before the day starts and gets crazy. So give myself 5 or 10 minutes of just uninterrupted time with my thoughts. And I try once or twice a year, and this was on a recommendation of my current boss. So shout out to you, boss man, for this recommendation, is to give yourself a journal week. So sometime during the year, go and take your journal entries from the past year or 2 years or 3 years and go sit and read that. And you'll quickly realize the things you were writing about 2 years ago is a dream that seemed so far away that is now reality. And it's kind of it pinches you awake and tells you, hey, bro, like fucking chill out. You did it. You're there. So that allows me to sit there, smile, reflect, and be like, I've actually come a long way. So, like, instead of constantly clawing to find whatever the next goal is to look in the rearview mirror and be like, fuck yes, you did it. Like, I got there. And my favorite quote of all time is by one of my favorite authors. His name is Sahil Bloom. And he says, never let the quest for more distract you from the beauty of enough. And
Never
that
let the quest for more distract you from the beauty of
enough. And that is something I tell myself all the time. And Carly, my dear fiance, also tells me all the time. She's like, why are you stressing about like that next thing that you worked, but you've not yet celebrated what you've already done? I'm like,
great fucking question. How do you celebrate your wins? How often do you celebrate wins? And what do you determine to be a win? Something I also struggle with.
Yeah.
But I'm curious.
It's a
if you have to celebrate a win, how would you do that?
So I really need to be better about that. Like I need to maybe start like, if there's a victory, like I've been working my balls off on building this course and now it's built and I have a few things to tweak before I can distribute it. But I've immediately moved into the next project. Today's my only day off. I'm recording podcast. I should actually be going out now and be like, hey, go drink a beer, go for like a lunch, go for a swim on the beach and be like, hey, just chill out. You did a big task. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I say all these things about stop moving the goalposts and stop and smell the roses, but I don't really do it enough myself. And
I think you're telling yourself that, and you're still not listening. We do that. We all do that.
I know. It's just there's always a reason, right? Like I will be I'm like, I can't stop now because I have to build a business before I'm comfortable getting out of yachting. That is my near-term thinking. But on the flip side of the coin, and not to sound pessimistic, but if something had to happen to me in the next few days or next few weeks, God forbid, I don't want to be lying in a hospital bed being like, oh, okay, fuck, I could have enjoyed my life a bit more. What was I building all that for? And now it doesn't matter. So it's like a constant being pulled.
Conflict.
Yeah. But I guess that's life. And you just got to figure out the way how to enjoy the journey on the way to the destination.
Easier said than done, but worth practicing for sure. It's like trying to get on your first boat. I'm sure you remember the hustle and the struggle to do that. What it took, all the preparation. If we go back to those early days, just being on board a yacht was the ultimate goal. Sometimes I remember not even having a goal further than that, and just getting that on board the first yacht. And then you sit with it for a while, you realize how tough and shit the work can actually be, the long hours, some relationships on board can be abusive on certain yachts, and then you're like, what the fuck am I doing? I want something better. So it's always constantly striving for more. Grass isn't always greener.
That is.
There's always a battle to face.
Yeah, you're right. I've actually never really framed it that way. Like, that's a good point. Like, Well, you're right. When you're looking for a job, it's like the only task in the whole world that matters is applying for 1 million jobs a day, getting rejected for 900,099,999, and then hoping that one guy is willing to give you a chance because you coincidentally applied at the right moment as his decky was getting fired. And now fast forward, like I have such a solid job for 4 years on a boat that I barely think of employment as an issue. But in the yachting industry that's so saturated, that is very much on the forefront of everyone's minds right now is how the fuck am I getting my next job? So yeah, you made me think there. Thank you.
I remember how simple life was back then and how, even though I didn't have much money, just that process and that journey was exciting. Responsibilities only consisted of, surviving through the week, getting day work, and finding a job, and then having beers with your friends.
That's it.
That was the life.
Yeah.
If I was a billionaire, I would go do that again.
Yeah.
Or a billionaire right now, go through that journey because that was fun. That was simple. We keep moving the goalposts. We have to evolve.
That's it. That just reminded me of a cool story I read about recently about moving the goalposts. So, okay, I might butcher this, but I'm going to try my best. So,
summarize it. Yeah.
A rich man walked into a small fishing village, and he sees a fisherman on his little boat. He just came out from a day of fishing, and he's sitting there. He's drinking a cold beer, and he's playing his guitar on the thing. And the rich man asks the fisherman, he's like, so what do you do? How was your day? What did you do today? He said, so I went out today, I caught some fish, and then I came back to the town, I sold my fish at the market, and now I'm sitting with my friends, enjoying some music and enjoying some beverages. And he says, cool. And he says, but like you can actually buy another boat and then get another fisherman to work with you, and you can go out and you can do twice as many. And then when you start making money with your fishing boat, you can buy a whole fleet, and then you can buy the market, and you can come back into the port, and you can sell more, and you can grow and grow and grow. And then the fisherman looks at him and he says, and what do I do after all that, and I made all that money? And he said, oh, well, that's simple. Then you move to a small town, you buy a little fishing boat, you drink beers, you play guitar. And then the fisherman said to him, well, that's exactly what the fuck I was doing in the first place. So I love that story because it like tells me,
Brilliant.
Sometimes
that's
we have these grand aspirations to just kind of retire and come back to what is the nice, simple pleasures in life.
100%. I mean, that's beautiful. I miss those simple pleasures. No responsibility, no stress. Just get through the week. That was simple times. Of course, life changes.
Of course.
And,
okay, well,
and I still want to know what it's like to be super rich at some point, having the option to buy a yacht. I want to see what that's like.
Yeah, I think, it comes with opportunity, but it comes with a whole host of problems. I'm very lucky to be working for an exceptional type of rich person that seems to like still really enjoy life, and he treats us all really well. But, I think the common consensus in the industry is most of them are pretty rich, miserable assholes. I think it's also tough once you become that level of rich. I think it's pretty tough to know who your friends really are, because suddenly everyone you've ever known comes knocking on the door because they want a slice of the pie.
And they're nice to you all the time.
And they're nice. And suddenly there's all this women that come in. It's like the hot girl from high school that never used to talk to you is now suddenly in your DMs. And you're like, who is really here for me as a person, or who's really here for my wallet? So I think that's a challenge they have to navigate. I also want to be rich. I don't think I want to be yacht rich. But as mentioned before, my definition of rich is just having that freedom number where work becomes a choice. And the plan with the Yachting Investor is that that's really soon. So
nice. Good for you.
So let's talk about YachtieWorld a bit more. So what was like a key breakthrough moment?
Key breakthrough moment. I would say during COVID, when I actually turned YachtieWorld into a business because I was forced to do so. Just back home, I was staying with my parents. It was only going to be a few months, 2 months. COVID hit, boom. Ended up staying in Cape Town for 3 years after that. But that's when I was forced to make a decision. How can I help this influx of people coming my way? I can't just sit there and help them for free the whole time because I've got to sustain myself. So I created a model where I could help boost their profiles online for a small fee. I started very small. I think I started with $1. Start $1. At least give me some sort of value exchange. I want to see an increase in sales, even if it's $1. And then I turned it to $5, then $10, $25, $100. Took it from there. And then I started heading to the businesses, offering them packages. I've got this attention I can provide for you. This core audience that I've built over a 10-year period. Would you like to sponsor me? I'll do X, Y, and Z for you. I was giving a lot of value for not a lot of money, but I was building that rhythm. I was seeing what works and what doesn't. And that was a huge pivotal point for me, knowing that I could make money online in the yachting industry in Cape Town, at home, living with my parents under COVID conditions. So that was great. I ended up staying in Cape Town for 3 years, making dollars, making more than my previous salary on a yacht, which was a game changer. And so earning that kind of money in Cape Town, earning dollars there, I was rich, making more than most of my friends. And I was like, okay, this is a pretty good life. But then I was stagnant. I was away from the YachtieWorld. So 2023, packed up, used all those funds to go on a world mission, self-funded, and haven't been back home since. Now I've got a child.
Now you have a baby in Miami. What a legend. Okay, let's talk about more content-specific things. What was one random piece of content that blew up that you weren't expecting?
Well, I could talk about recent events. I've had several pieces of content blow up unexpectedly, some wildly unexpectedly. But recently, poor Paige Bell was found murdered on board a motor yacht in the Bahamas, which is super sad. And I was stuck in a point where I was like, what do I say about this? I didn't know her, but I feel affected by this because the yachting industry is something, especially yacht crew in the yachting industry, is something that I hold close to my heart. That's my mission. I'm here to serve them predominantly. And I was like, well, I've got to say something. I don't know what to say. And I just typed something authentically. I was like, this is how I feel. I'm not trying to be a hero, but I would like to help those who want to help. I can't take on such a major task on my own, but I know with the platform that I built and the audience that I have, and the community that I've brought together, I know there's somebody out there that is willing to do something. And this post got a lot of attention, a lot more than I thought. Usually people will just skip past something that's too hard to handle. But this, I opened up the floor for people to add their words of wisdom,
Yes.
Like, how are you affected by this? What do you think needs to change? And from that, I came across, or it was very clear that abuse of power or abuse on board is a huge pain point that not many people are speaking about. It's a very touchy, shameful subject. Nobody wants to admit that they've been a victim of abuse because it makes them feel, weak, insignificant, or makes them sound like a little bitch. Nobody wants that. So especially for men, we keep quiet and we suck it up and swallow it and keep moving forward. For women, however, what happened to her is terrible, the sexual harassment. A lot of people coming out with their stories saying that they've been raped, they've been victim to sexual harassment. They have flashbacks, but are too afraid to speak about it because they don't want to face whatever happened. So there's some horror stories out there, and but the industry needs to improve. We need to make change within ourselves. We need to equip ourselves with the education and the tools to stand up to bullying, to ensure this type of behavior doesn't happen. And there needs to be safe places for people that they feel that they can go to. So I'm trying to work on a plan for that and find all those people who have the tools, resources, certifications, etc., that dedicate their lives to supporting yachties in this kind of scenario.
Yeah,
and that's coming out. So a lot of work that needs to be done. Another piece of content that went viral, I don't know if you saw that, and this is surprising because the negativity bias seems to be real on social media, unfortunately. Obviously, dark humor people are attracted to for some reason. But I posted a video of that boat, that rehab boat, where it's one bump. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yes, I did.
We were in Arizona.
We were in Arizona, yeah.
Basically, cocaine yacht fleet. And
Yeah.
I've got over 10 million views. I think it's still going crazy in my feed. Thousands and thousands of shares. So I'm like, this is interesting what goes viral on my channel, what people are attracted to. And then you post something that's there to nurture, encourage growth.
A wholesome, yeah.
A wholesome
and it gets nothing. Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting observation.
So finding a way that appeals to the audience interest but gives them value at the same time is key. Because some people just want to mindlessly scroll for entertainment, and some people, very few apparently, are there to do research. So it just depends. It goes up and down constantly. Best advice I can give to people who are trying to grow their audience base and their channels is to keep experimenting, try different things constantly, and eventually you figure out a rhythm and what works. Sometimes you post things for purpose, and some things you post things for entertainment, and it's just constantly constantly changing. Social media is also constantly evolving. Like there was a time where beautifully curated, polished, edited content was doing well, and then that changes to just take an easy, quick video, no effort behind it, boom, and it will go viral.
Yeah.
So experimentation.
Gotta stay with the times. And I want to thank you too on behalf of Yachties for kind of, obviously the news spread quickly, and what happened with Page Bell was absolutely horrific and unacceptable. And
Horrible.
I mean, there's no words on earth to say what, like, I can't even imagine what it feels like to be her parents or her boyfriend or the crew members on board during that tragedy. But I think if there's any consolation or silver lining in this, it has finally been, it's the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of it can't continue like this. I'll drop the petition that is there to sign for crew in the show notes, as well as a whole host of resources like mental health resources for crew that is made available by ICE1. The webinar that you're about to do with Wave Wellness, I believe, or Sandra from the Yacht Purser. There's really important forums coming up to speak about this. And it's not just the monster that did this to her, but it's also everyone else that doesn't speak up when something like that happens. Like, me, some of my friends, we've all been guilty in ignoring certain comments that are made on board because it's like, it's just a joke. But in hindsight, you don't know what that person goes through that is on the receiving ends of these supposed to be innocent comments. So even just something like that, us as a crew has sat down with our captains this week. We've all instated a whole new policy about what is good, what is okay in the workplace, how are we going to approach employing future crew in terms of background checks and criminal background and mental health. It's a lot. There's a lot that's going to be changing in the coming weeks, and it's really, really sad that something like this had to happen for everybody to first wake up. But I really hope that this is the spark that everyone needed to just fucking be better human beings, you know?
It certainly has sparked the entire, industry. And change is happening slowly. People are trying to figure out the best way to reach and educate people, provide them with the tools. So that is happening. Like, it's great to hear that your boat has taken immediate action and addressed these concerns. And what's your thoughts on abuse and toxic environments on board? Have you ever experienced that? I know many boats experience that, but don't talk about it outside. But it does happen, especially when people are under extreme pressure, exhausted, tired of living with each other. It can happen. And how do you mitigate that or come up with a solution to stop it in its tracks? Does it always have to be firing somebody? Does there always have to be a target? Is it always a bad apple? What do you find is like the root cause?
It's very much case by case basis. I was only part of one program for a short while where there was a pretty, I don't want to say violent, but just a pretty like aggressive and just a bit of an inhumane character that was the captain that had been there for so long that he had a bit of a god complex. And, that's the thing, like and look, being a captain, I can tell working alongside them all the time, it's not an easy job, but that doesn't give you any excuse to exert that stress that you are under due to your occupation on other crew. And I think that often happens because they have no other healthy outlets. Yachting has very low balance. We don't necessarily always have resources to seek help when you do need help. And then people either go towards alcohol, other substance abuse, or to the whole other extreme of sexual harassment and assault and
suicide too. I know a few victims of suicide too from harsh environments, which is extreme, and you don't hear much about it.
Yeah, and it's honestly, I don't have a blanket answer or to a solution. I was always very much in the camp of when something seems toxic around me and I don't want to be part of it, like I leave. I think in yachting, everyone gets kind of trained and primed saying, okay, you need longevity. Like, doesn't matter how hard it is, you got to stay on that boat, get at least a year on your CV. That to me is complete and utter bullshit. Life is too short to be working even 1 week in a place where you don't feel safe, valued, or happy. And quite frankly, if someone's going to be like, okay, yeah, you've hopped too many boats, you're like, okay, well, all of them didn't match my style, whether that's on me as an individual, coincidentally, I didn't match with the crew, or it was their fault every single time. I think that stigma needs to be removed. And it's not like this is a normal job, we're not like, this is not just the place of work. This is also the place where you live. So you got to make sure that it's your home. So you got to make sure that you're in an environment that suits you and serves you and can actually help make you grow as an individual. But in terms of tolerance for these things happening, I mean, there should be an absolute zero tolerance. When there's a whiff of something happening, like here's an example. Let's say you're the bosun on board, I'm the chief officer, and we have a captain. And you as the bosun picked up that the captain made some sexual comment to a new stewardess while she was down in the laundry room. Even if the captain saw that as an innocent comment, that needs to be addressed by the crew via the proper chain of command. So go to the designated person ashore, go to the management company if that's applicable. Because if the captain is doing that, he's already at the top of the crew hierarchy. So there needs to be a way to bypass him. And if a management company and a DPA is not accessible, you go straight to the owner and make him known that whoever he employed to run his yacht is a creep or a potential creep, and at least an investigation can be done about it. So that's the only way, because otherwise, if there's leniency and too much bureaucracy and systems in place of your, oh no, you need to first lodge a formal complaint and then it gets a review by this, and then no action ever gets taken. So remove the friction. When someone is suspected of being a creep or a piece of shit, his work contract gets paused until the investigation is complete by objective parties. And that's the only way I can see this really being an environment that is conducive to getting better.
So what you're proposing is giving power to the people, like you mentioned, God complex, which I've seen over and over. A lot of people in the yachting industry think they're the owners themselves because they have access to the resources.
Yeah.
But by letting the crew know, especially junior crew who are still naive, learning, and don't know all the resources available to them, giving them the power to reach out to somebody that they don't have to be pushed down to insignificance, which I see happen a lot. And another problem I also have noticed is people will mask their bad intentions with banter. It's just, just having fun. That's something I see happen a lot. So they almost get away with it and leaves the people feeling a little confused. I had a discussion about this as well. Yeah, it's not a very straightforward situation because it differs on every single vessel. But there are being things put in place, and I loved your solutions and options for that.
And us as men, and this is like all the males listening out there, like we have to be extra attentive on the things we allow, even something like locker room talk. Like if it's just the boys talking out on deck and there's a cute stewardess from another boat passing by on the dock, like there's certain comments we make that is actually enabling someone's inner monster. So that's really important to, even if it's a really uncomfortable thing to do, if you're a deckhand sitting on the main deck aft with all of your officers and your other deck crew involved, and one of them make a comment about that one's ass, like you got to be enough of a man, if that doesn't sit right with you, to say, hey, listen, like I didn't really appreciate that comment. And honestly, if you get a negative reaction from the people around you when you stand up for something that you believe in, you're probably not where you're supposed to be anyway. And then that's a surefire way to know that you got to get the fuck out of there.
That takes serious courage and confidence, for somebody to do that. But another problem I foresee is the desperation amongst junior crew. They've worked so hard and struggled for so long to get on this position. They're scared that they're going to struggle again or not have enough money. So that's another problem, is the desperation. They want to hold on to that little bit of good. They're willing to sacrifice whatever it takes for that paycheck. Even, people morphing into the same kind of culture or toxic culture that happens. I've seen it happen over and over again. You want to fit in, because if you don't fit in, you're out on the streets again. So it's challenging for a lot of people.
It is.
I've noticed people are desperate, and people are willing to do whatever it takes, even accept the bullshit, which is a problem. Mm-hmm. But I think having these hard conversations will make people aware, and standing up for their values and truths, even against somebody in a high position, is, it takes serious balls. And
it does.
I encourage that.
I think balls is what we need right now. Like someone, you can't solve hard problems without having the hard conversations. So I really hope, and I am more than happy to lend a hand in any form of idea forming or panel discussions about how we can make these things better. because an
Beautiful.
atrocity like that can never, ever, 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 ever happen again. And
I agree.
luckily, I'm saying obviously with a very big caveat, because nothing about this is fucking lucky, but is that it didn't just make waves within our industry. It is international news. And, I opened 2 days after that all happened, I was seeing on like CNN and on Unilad and
All the
like
news channels.
major publications,
Yeah.
which will hopefully put some pressure on, all the maritime establishments that is in charge of our safety and all the regulations that we have at sea, and to really kind of put pressure down and see like, hey guys, like if you don't conform to this new standard of whether that's background checks or just a lot more thorough screening of applicants, then we shut your boat down. You lose your charter license, payroll stops, the owner can't use his boat. That sometimes it will have to go to extreme measures like that to be able to. And I'm hoping that the fact that this issue is on the global spotlight, that the necessary momentum and pressure and inertia is there to help get to the root cause of this problem.
100%. I mean, STCW, rest in peace, Paige, rest in power.
Yeah.
With the STCW training, I believe these modules that address these concerns will be put in place. So that's positive news, but we can't wait until that happens. There's a lot of red tape with these major corporate guidelines. So yeah, I encourage whoever's watching to reach out to whoever you feel is best in order to address these concerns and spread the news, spread knowledge, share your stories, and just so people can become more aware of these terrible situations.
Yeah, I'm glad we touched, and obviously this was all not necessarily what I normally discuss on the pod or what I think this conversation was leading to, but it's natural, it's important. We both
unscripted.
Have certain platforms that we can use to help, spread the message. And, that I didn't know her personally, I don't know her family, but I can just tell what an impact she had on the world. And like this,
she was one of us,
she was
didn't deserve it.
Yeah. And it can't go to waste. But we'll drop the resources in the show notes for anybody like that wants to talk to someone that needs some therapy, that wants to take part in this petition, which will help seafarers get more thorough background checks. I'll drop that below. And then, Alex, for you and I to close out, I've got a few rapid fire questions. If you're ready for them.
I had some questions for you too.
Okay.
We went off on a tangent. Well, let's go.
No worries. So
I'll be as concise as possible. Let's see.
What advice would you give a 19-year-old Alex?
Yeah. You're going to make it. Keep pushing through and stand up for yourself. Don't let the bullies put you down. Stand up and fight them. Even physically, if you have to.
He goes to a boxing gym. I've seen his Instagram. What is some guilty pleasure content that you like to consume?
Guilty pleasure content that I like to watch a lot of martial arts, MMA, boxing, Muay Thai. That seems to be filling up my feed more than yachts these days.
The algorithm knows what you want.
It's feeding me.
What's the last thing you spent money on that is adding value to your life?
My son. That's where the majority of it goes now.
I'm going to play this to Apollo on his 21st birthday. So look what Daddy said about you.
His smile just lights up my world. He gives me, that fire. I'm like, keep going, Yeah. I know you're tired and fed up, but you got to keep going. So I'll say him.
Okay. And what is one cringy thing that you can't stand that you see yachties do on Instagram?
I would say being a sheep, and you see these trends online that everyone's doing, and then people doing that. It's like, no, do something different. I get it though. I get it.
Yeah, it's a good answer. That's probably what my answer would be to that question.
To be original.
Yeah, be authentic.
That's what's valuable.
Yeah, authenticity grabs attention. There's too much poly. Plus, now that you can create a Hollywood quality movie with AI, you got to learn how to be authentic using your iPhone.
Yeah, AI I think is cool if it's clearly AI. But some of these AI pieces of content, the AI slop is, some of it's just, garbage. If you can figure out how to use it in a unique, original way, great. I've been playing around with AI content as well. It's fun. I mean, the stuff we were doing for Sonara and Odyssey as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of merging the two. Yeah.
And no, that's it. So I'm going to hand it over to you, and then I'll just finish off letting you tell people how to connect. So,
cool. Yeah, I had some questions here for you prepared. Just give me a second.
I've never been interviewed on my own podcast, but let's go.
Well, I mean, you've got a hell of a lot of value to add there, Charl. You could be the president of the super yachting industry with the way you speak. You're really good at it. Must give you that. Let me see.
It's all a front.
That's great preparation, man. You've been working hard. Okay. Just give me a second. Okay, before I find the questions, I did write them down and well thought out before this. Where does one go to in order to figure out how to start investing? What kind of platform do you use? I know there's the Yachting Investor that answers all these questions.
Right. So that would be the obvious answer and the obvious way to plug my business. And on a serious note, I have structured the business in a way where that is the whole point, so that people that don't know where to start, they come to my page, and it all starts with something I built called the Yachtie Financial Playbook, which is a 7-step SOP guideline on how to build a life of wealth and abundance whilst working at sea. But if you don't like me or my content and you want to learn anything, all you got to do is start with the basics. So there's a few books that I always recommend to people to get started on your personal finance and investing journey. For investing in the stock market, there's 2. Number 1, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Brilliant book, horrible title. Number 2 is The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. And both these books teach you that in the modern day, with all these apps we have that we can use to invest on, it has never been easier to invest in the stock market. And the stock market, in my opinion, is still the greatest wealth builder, because it allows people like you and I to invest into businesses. These businesses add value to the community in exchange for profits, and then those profits get reinvested, and you get paid out by taking the risk to invest in them. If you want to get started in real estate, I always recommend to people to read a book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is a great one. It's an all-time classic, and it kind of teaches you what it means to use debt as leverage. So basically, how to borrow money from the bank, buy a property, make it nice, let someone else pay off the rest of the loan. And then there's a few books I can recommend to people on a bit more niche topics like crypto, etc. But for the most part, there's a plethora of YouTube videos and blogs and newsletter content. There's actually no real excuse to not get started. But what I'm trying to do with the Yachting Investor is just to simplify all the concepts.
You're bringing it all together after your hard study research over several years. and
That's
making it easily accessible. Because at this point, for instance, I'm like, where do you even start? What do you type in a Google search? What are the right questions to ask? And you've gone through this whole process because you had serious interest, and you've curated it neatly and well thought out and authentically. I think that's brilliant. I had a look at your upcoming course. I think it's beautiful, man. What app would you recommend somebody download to start investing?
Okay, so this is very nationality specific. The Americans listening, you will download either Robinhood, Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab. You guys have all the options in the world.
If you had to pick one,
if I had to pick one as an American, it would be Robinhood. Low cost. Very low cost. You can buy fractional shares. So if you don't have enough money to buy one Apple stock, which is $3,000, you can buy 0.0000001% of that and just invest with as little as $10. So it's made investing for people a lot more accessible. Then for our Brits out there, you guys can invest on a platform like Revolut, Vanguard. Vanguard would actually be the one that I recommend for the Brits, as well as the Australians, I believe, can use that platform. Vanguard is a highly liquid online brokerage platform, which means there's so much money already invested via their funds that the odds of them going bankrupt is pretty much next to nothing. For my fellow South Africans, tough times never last. It's tough really tricky. It's really tricky for us. But I have recently started a partnership with Easy Equities. Easy Equities is South Africa's first fractional shares online brokerage. And it's really cool because they have now been allowed to keep all your money in dollars. And you don't necessarily need to dilute your hard-earned dollars to rands to start investing. And you have access to all international markets for stocks, for index funds, for ETFs, and even crypto. So that would be my recommendation for the SAFAs. And then all the other countries, I've written an extensive newsletter article that explains how each common member in yachting can start investing with as little as $100. And I will be sure to add that in the show notes as well.
Fantastic. Why do you think so many yachties struggle with saving or building wealth despite high salaries?
Because
I know you speak a lot about this.
Yeah, so we most of us come from fuck all money to suddenly a lot of money without any introductory course on how to manage it. And that gets accelerated by us being exposed to high net worth individuals who spend crazy money. We, for example, like yesterday, I helped the boat fuel up. We spent $60,000 just to fill up the tanks for a boat for a weekend trip. And while you're sitting there pumping it out, you're like, of course I can order something for $600 on Amazon. But relatively speaking, the owner of that yacht can afford the 60 grand fuel bill. You cannot afford the $600 Amazon purchase. So I think that's what makes it really difficult. We're just engulfed in like this luxury community. When you do get a day off, you find yourself in a place like Monaco or St. Bart's. So even if you just want to go for a very casual coffee by yourself, you're going to fucking have to sell a kidney to buy a coffee in Monaco. I think that's the main issue.
Go to Captai, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
What's the best way to enjoy the yachting lifestyle without blowing your entire salary on it? Because I know there's a lot of people who will go out one night and spend a shitload of money. I've seen it. I've always been relatively, good with my money. Yeah. But I've seen people, you go to special clubs or whatever, and hundreds of dollars are gone within 20 minutes, or whatever. You know?
Look, so we work hard for our money, so you should be able to spend it how you like. So if that is something that gives you joy, going out to a nightclub and spending $1,000 on bottle service and you had the best night of your life, by all means. But as long as you identify areas in your life like that, where you get a lot of value, but then identify the areas where you don't get a lot of value and cut mercilessly on those areas. So if you know on your weekend off, you're going to spend $1,000 at Space in Miami, then don't also spend $500 at brunch in the morning leading up to that. Then rather be smart, buy something or eat Chefy's food. We do get fed for free. But that since I instilled that mentality for myself on being super conscious about what I find value in, I don't give a shit spending $1,000 on a weekend in the mountains or buying some new camping equipment. But I don't value fancy clothes or watches or fancy dinners. So you'll never see me spending money on any of those items because it doesn't give me value. And I don't fall in the mentality of I need to impress someone else. So I've just always steered clear of that. And that way you're still enjoying the fruits of your hard labor, but you're not pissing away money in departments that you don't care about.
So do what adds value to you. Don't try and impress anybody else. Is the moral of that story. Beautiful.
That's it.
Let's see. Got a lot of questions I wanted to ask you, but we're running out. We've got 4 minutes left. Do you believe yachties can build true generational wealth from this career?
I do. And I do believe that it is a lot more easy and accessible than you think. If you learn early on how to build a system where you put away an X amount of money every month without fail, and you are willing to run through the times where the markets goes up and down, through war threats, through tariffs, through all scary shit that happens out in the markets. And if you truly hold on for a decade, for 2 decades, for 3 decades, and you let compound interest do your magic, you and your family will be extremely wealthy, even if you invest as little as $500 a month. And that is a fact.
Beautiful. Nice. Well, I'll leave it off with that.
Nice. I like that. I like being in the fire.
Yeah, you're always ready for it. Yeah, of course.
Amazing, Alex. I had a great chat with you today. You're such a G, and always enjoyed talking to you. And we've been trying to get this podcast done for months, so I'm glad we found a time to make it work. For the listeners that are not familiar with you or already checking out your content, how can they reach you? And any other notes you want to leave to the listeners? Go ahead.
So, Yachties, follow me on Instagram if you're not already. I believe Yacht Crew are the heartbeat of this yachting industry, and the content I put out there is predominantly focused on Yacht Crew experiences and whatever adds value to them. So yeah, reach out to me there. Check out my website. If you're looking for useful resources, if you want training, crew housing, etc., reach out to me. I'm well connected globally and happy to assist you. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing you on the East Coast when I come there for the boat show later this year. And if you happen to come to the West Coast before, please let me know. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into another episode of the Rich as Fuck podcast. I will see you guys next week.
Cheers.
Cheers, Alex.
Charlie.
Cheers, bro.